Hey, what is going on, party people? Greg Jenkins here from House Monkey Pod. And if you're like me, or like all small business owners, then you have probably used Zoom within the last 2 years, maybe more than you care to admit. In fact, you may have used it this week or even today. And if you host webinars on Zoom, then odds are you have looked for a solution that allows you to sync attendees or registrants through to your Keap database. There are a few options in our ecosystem that can allow you to do that, but I want to show you my favorite, which is the PlusThis Zoom webinar connection. Now, PlusThis has a whole suite of tools and features that benefit small businesses and Keap users in a variety of ways, but this is certainly one of their more popular features. And so in order to demonstrate it, I have sort of a two-part video series that I want to show you a simple version of their connection and then a more advanced version as well. So this is part one. I'm going to demonstrate how the feature works, right? At its bare bones, how you can automatically tag people who register through a Zoom webinar registration page, how you can also segment people based on whether or not they attend that webinar. And then in part two, I'm gonna dig in a little deeper and show you my campaign that you can use to invite people to the webinar, to give them a one-click registration link, how you can create custom reminders for the webinar to improve the odds of them showing up, and how you can use whether or not they attended to create a personalized follow-up email that distributes the recording after the event. So part one is the simple bare bones integration, and in part two, I'll sort of dive in deeper and show you all of the bells and whistles along the way. Ready? Let's go. Step one. So in order for PlusThis to have data that it can sync over to Keap, the webinar first has to be set up inside Zoom. So let's go ahead and add a new Zoom webinar. You probably have done this before, so I'm not going to walk you through all of the steps. We will just snap our fingers and jump to the end. Okay. I have set up the webinar. We've got the topic, the description, the date and time are set. I didn't add the actual panelists yet. This is a panel webinar, but I'll do that once I have all of their information collected and organized. The key here is the registration link. So we can use this as our landing page, and that's what we're going to do for the simple version of this. We'll just let people register using this page that has the description, it has my logo, it has the title of it, and it collects their details and registers them. So now we have a simple vehicle to let people register for this. You also can use the actual email settings here inside Zoom to send the confirmation email once they register. You can also send reminders as the event is approaching, or follow-up emails to people who do attend or to people who don't attend. And we're gonna talk about those settings toward the end of this video and in the part two video, because you do have some options for whether you use Zoom to send those reminders and those follow-up emails, or you use Keap. And depending on how simple or complex you want your setup to be, one might make more sense than the other. So now that we have the webinar set up in Zoom, the next step is to jump into our Keap database, and we will head right to the CRM settings section. And in the tags area, we're going to set up some tags that reflect whether or not somebody has registered or attended this webinar. So you can see here's a previous category: HDT, registered, attended, and missed, right? So we will add new tags. And as a pro tip, you can create multiple tags by separating the names with commas. So we'll do PlusThis showcase, and then I'll just put registered. And this is a personal preference, but I do 3 tags: one for registered, one for attended, and one for missed. If you wanted, you could just do registered, right? If you were sending the follow-up emails inside Zoom, you might not need the attendees tagged differently inside of Keap. But if you do want that, you can do it by creating a third or a second and third tag with attended or missed as the the denotation there. Now, I will also put these in. I believe I have a webinars category where these tags live. So as I click add tags, we'll see those 3 get added to my list here. Now, the reason I said you have a choice here is because you can do 1 tag just for registered. You could do 3 tags for registered, attended, or missed. And I think there are some additional settings we'll see as we jump into PlusThis here, where you could also tag if there's an error. So we'll take a look at that here. Now that you have the tags, so you set up step 1, you set up the webinar inside Zoom. Step 2, you set up your tags inside Keap. And now we add the tool here using Zoom webinar connection. And you can do something similar for GoToMeeting, for Webinar Jam, for Zoom meetings, right? But we are doing a Zoom webinar in this particular example. I just call that out because depending on your platform, the process is going to be very similar. Now, we'll choose the Zoom user. Of course, it's me in this instance, and there's only 1 webinar for us to choose from. If you had multiple upcoming webinars scheduled, of course, you would want to choose the one that you're working with for this particular connector. Now, this is an important reminder. In Zoom, for the registration, it does require last name. So I point that out because if you are allowing people to register through a third-party landing page or through a Keap landing page, you want to make sure that you are capturing last name so that when it sends the registration details over to Zoom, it's able to register them. Just a good heads up to be aware of that the last name is required in order for people to register for your webinar by default. Now, once you have selected the webinar, you can choose the field mapping, right? So, if they register through Zoom, first name goes to what field inside of Keap goes to first name. Last name goes to last name, and email goes to email, right? So those are pretty straightforward. You probably won't have to change those settings. Now, this is where we get a little more detailed, right? So if somebody registers, what tag do we want to apply? If you had not yet created the tags, you can actually create them on the fly here, but because we have created it, we can call this PlusThis showcase registered. And this is where I mentioned you could also apply a tag if the registration fails, which would give you the opportunity to troubleshoot the issues or to follow up with those people independently, right? Now, I failed to mention this previously, but if you are going to send the follow-up communication through Keap, then you probably want to map the registration link, their join link, through to a custom field so that you can merge it into the emails you are sending them. But if you are sending your follow-up emails through Zoom, then it will natively include their join link and you don't necessarily need this setting. But again, that's a personal preference. If you want to keep it as simple as possible, you don't need anything here because you can use the follow-up emails from Zoom. But I'm going to use a custom field inside Keap that I have already created. It's called Webinar Join Link. And whenever I host webinars, I push their join link through to that custom field so that I can merge it into emails as I'm reminding them about the event. You also have the choice to merge the webinar topic or the webinar date and time into fields. I don't actually need those. I'm just going to type those into the emails. There's only a few emails that I'll be using, but because that webinar join link is unique to the individual, I like to pass it through so I can easily give them their link at the last second or at key intervals leading up to the webinar. Now, the registration options control, of course, the tag and the fields when they register. When it comes to actually attending the webinar, you can apply a tag to people who attend. So let's choose our PlusThis showcase attended tag. And you can also apply a tag to the people who miss the webinar. So people who attend but then don't show up. You also have some options for the minutes attended, the user's join and exit time. If you wanted to push those through to custom fields, you can. Those aren't features that I have historically depended on. But I do like to tag people based on whether or not they attended because it gives me the opportunity to position the recording differently. So if they attended, I'll say something like, It was great having you on the webinar. You know how valuable that was, so I wanted to get you the recording as quickly as possible. But for people who didn't attend, I'll say something like, we missed you on the webinar. It was really valuable, and so I wanted to get you the recording so you could get caught up to speed as quickly as possible, right? I'll just position it a little bit differently, which isn't necessary, but I think it adds a level of, personal touch and consideration. So that's it as far as the configuration options. Let's go ahead and call this PlusThis Showcase Webinar. I don't know if I have a webinar folder here. I don't. And actually the reason I don't have a webinar folder is because once the webinar is done, I can delete this tool because I no longer need it, right? For live one-time webinars, you only really need the tool while the registration is open. Once the event has concluded, I have a habit of clearing out my old or unused tools. Okay, now that we have created the PlusThis feature, we have a couple options here. This is the URL we can use to create a registrant. So the way that you would use that is as an HTTP post in your campaign. You also can use this URL if you wanted to remove a registrant. So if somebody clicks a link saying, I changed my mind, you could run this post and it would remove them as a registrant for that webinar. You can create a one-click link. So if you are sending emails to your audience and you want them to be able to register for your webinar with one click, this is the link you would use, and you would just put a URL in here that shows them, hey, a confirmation message of some sort. You're successfully registered, check your email in a moment. And then in the confirmation emails, so if you're using Zoom's confirmation emails and reminder emails, they will natively include calendar links. But some people are frustrated with the look and feel of these emails. They just want more customization options or flexibility for building it out. So if you wanted, you could build your follow-up emails, your reminder emails inside Keap, and you could use these links to give them the opportunity to add the webinar to their iCal or Outlook calendar, or this link to add it to their Google Calendar. So a couple of options there for adding the calendar to their event. But at this point, we have everything we need, right? So if they register for the webinar, so all I would do is share this publicly. It would automatically tag them once they register. Let's go back to our edit tool using the settings that we configured in this option here. So if they register through this registration page, PlusThis will automatically add them to our Keap database. If they're in there, it will just tag them. If they are not in there yet, it will tag them and create the contact. And here's the key, right? Is this option to sync contacts who register outside of PlusThis. So that way, if people are not yet in your system, PlusThis knows to create a contact. This is on by default, but I call it out in case you had turned that off during the registration process, or if you notice that external registrants aren't being added, that's the first thing that I would check. Now, if you are sending the reminders through Zoom, then you're done. The Zoom registration page and the Zoom reminders and the Zoom follow-up will allow you to successfully host the webinar, and your registrants and attendees will wind up tagged based on the options you have here in your PlusThis feature. So that is the Zoom webinar connection tool. That's the bare basics, all you need in order to successfully host a webinar and to keep your attendees and registrants synced into your Keap database. Now, in part 2 of this video, I'm going to show you some advanced options for how you can build your own custom registration page, how you can build an email invite process to go to your existing audience, to invite them, to use that one-click registration feature, and all of the bells and whistles that come along with creating your own custom reminders, your own custom follow-up for any webinars that you host through Zoom. So that's it for part 1. If you don't yet use PlusThis, but you think it might be valuable, I encourage you to start a free trial, to check it out at monkeypodmarketing.com/try PlusThis. Of course, that is my link, so it earns me some brownie points if you use that to sign up for your free trial. But I think it also gets you a discount on the monthly or annual plan, depending on what you need for your business. So thanks for watching. And if you are interested in the advanced customization options, I will see you in part 2 of the PlusThis Zoom webinar connection video series. Take care.